Live. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with a VeVe Omi video. It's called Omi is My Homie. Guest Crypto Rain and co-host. How you doing, brother?
Fantastic.
Hello, Dutchie. So we have breaking news that I just kind of want a little opinion on, a little bit. It is Donald Trump witness history as he speaks from July 25th to July 27th at Bitcoin 2024. It will be in Nashville, Tennessee. Pro the Doge is going there. I think Andre Jick is going there. There's going to be a bunch of people kind of in the community. They both have gold and silver logos. They'll be there getting to hopefully see him speak along with Michael Saylor, along with I think Edward Snowden is going to be there, and then Kathy Wood as well. So really, really dynamic personalities there. What are your thoughts? Is this good for the crypto community, or because now that Donald Trump has put himself in the position as Mr. Pro Crypto, are now half the never Trump people are going to be anti-crypto because of that, thus delaying the adoption even further? What
because the U.S. is coming up to an election, they can't afford to be. There's something new that's happened this last year that hadn't happened before, and it's the amount of money that the crypto lobby is spending. My guess is, and I don't know this, the reason why there's been this anti-crypto army probably has to do with massive lobbying efforts from banks or whoever is funding Elizabeth Warren, their anti-crypto army. Both her and another guy that are massively anti-crypto, they're chairs in like the banking committee of the Senate. So it makes sense that they usually get captured by the large companies that they're supposed to be regulating. And so they've been leading this anti-crypto army. Well, now there's hundreds of millions of dollars coming from the crypto lobby, which is a ton of money coming into pro-crypto candidates. So there's often an effect where if Donald Trump goes one way, like the people that hate him viscerally just go the other way. They've already been going the other way. Like Elizabeth Warren has already been going the other way, and it is possibly going to cost Democrats many seats in the election, maybe even the presidency. It's funny, there was some person interviewing Gary Gensler, and he made Gary Gensler super uncomfortable. And he said, what if your anti-crypto stance is what cost Joe Biden the election? Gary Gensler did not like that question. Gary Gensler is a very political animal, and he was trying to be the hero of politics by going against this dirty little crypto thing. Yeah, that was like fighting the internet when the internet was coming around. And unfortunately, Gary Gensler is going to go in the ash heap of history of somebody who understood crypto, but for some reason fought for the wrong side.
Use their superpowers for evil. That is going to be in July. That it's going to be in a couple weeks in that conference. There are a couple of other things to go over. We'll go out and then we'll go in. Outward further than that is going to be a blockchain conference. It's the Asia Blockchain Summit, known as ABS 2024. And our very own co-founder and CEO of VeVe and Omi, David Yu, will be speaking there from August 6th to August 8th. And he's quoted by saying, quote, "By integrating creativity with blockchain technology, we unlock limitless opportunities for characters to flourish in digital entertainment and gaming landscapes, end quote. I'm not 100% sure what the Asia Blockchain Summit is. I could take an educated guess that it's just a bunch of people that are super into blockchain tech, and it's going to be in Asia. It's going to be in Tapai Nangang Exhibition Center, somewhere in Southeast Asia. But that type of thing. So they used a picture of David Yu in his Omi shirt, which I thought was really fun. They've been obviously mentioning Omi quite a lot, but he doesn't say anything in the quote where they quoted him by. Where do you think his mind's at? At that point, he'll have come fresh off of San Diego Comic-Con and D23, which we'll get into in a minute. So he'll come off fresh off there. They might have some new announcements. They will be doing new physicals. They took special care to mention gaming landscapes. Mm-hmm. What do you think that means? What's your interpretation of this?
Well, I think that's just more evidence fueling our speculation that there's some kind of tie going on with the VeVe and some of these other potential metaverses. That's what it seems like. I hope so. That's cool. I don't really know what to expect out of the VeVe. I was an early investor in like Sandbox and Decentraland, not super early in Decentraland, but way before the massive pump in 2021. And like those metaverses end up being really boring, though the games were good. Like they weren't, the first iteration wasn't ready for like real-time use. So this next wave might be better, especially if you're partnering with some of these big names, like if Disney's involved, some of these other ones. Hopefully it's a metaverse that has things right. I do think VeVe hit on the first successful type metaverse implementation, which is really just the VeVe Vault. And if you take the VeVe Vault and you scale it bigger and allow people to place their things and allow people to record videos, and especially let people into your VeVe Vault, I think that's a successful metaverse. The VeVe Vaults have been really, really cool. It's kind of like, oh yeah, they accidentally tripped. I don't know, they accidentally tripped over it. Like it was, I think it was a massive success, probably bigger than they expected. They just wanted to give people a place to showcase their collectibles. I don't know if they expected people to take like 20 Todd McFarlanes and make a big flower out of it. And some of the cool things that people did with their VeVe Vaults. And if you expand on what's already been a massive success that users clearly want to use, I think that goes good. Beyond that, I don't know what to expect. I saw Sandboxes and Decentraland's metaverse be really cool and you can use it, but nobody uses it because it's boring. There's nothing to do there.
Preach. That's one of the things why back in the day, a lot of things used to have levels. Like the original Mario Brothers had 8 different levels, or I'm sorry, 8 worlds with 4 levels each. And, you know, it had a lot of replay value. You can go, there's Easter eggs and stuff. And that carried on through all of Nintendo. These are things that make something, I don't want to say legend, I don't want to break out the Sandlot quotes, but I'll say that there's only so much you can do creatively. Like they experimented with that in Super Smash Brothers. I said, oh, we'll have a stage where you can create your own stage. And it got used, but none of them ever really went really crazy. The only time that when you had to create your own space that had worked, at least in a Nintendo game, was probably Mario Maker. You can make your own stuff, and once you prove that you can beat it, other people can try it. It wasn't really until like Roblox or Minecraft where that really got big, and people have tried to recreate that, and it's exceedingly hard to do. So I think obviously when VeVeverse has a bunch of mini games and they have like a racing track or they have whatever they have, having preloaded content I think is paramount. Like I saw your video the other day on the top 5 undervalued tokens, and obviously Fias. You know, the Nice Experience, the Litcraft stuff, they have a bunch of preloaded games there already, which I play a lot, and that's something that why I think it's going to be successful, because they already have a lot of preloaded games and they'll have other stuff as well. But yeah, good points on that.
Yes, unfortunately, Doc isn't joining us today. He's here in spirit. He's probably here in the chat. There we go. He just couldn't be live with us today, so he had to bow out. He had some real life stuff come up to take care of. Damn it. Why do you have to be so responsible all the time, Doc?
There's a as we were going over before with Bitcoin, you had mentioned something today, something that was a funny post from your private Discord, and it was about Bitcoin. Like, why is it going down? Yeah. Someone do something. Went all-time high.
This comes from Abe in our private Discord, right? And he says, "When marketing for Bitcoin? ? Dev, do something. Bitcoin going down." And I just had to laugh. That's so true. Don't we see that for like Omi all the time? And it's just kind of really a play on the ridiculousness of Komi's job isn't to manipulate the price up. Now, some people see their jobs to do that. No, their job is to build a foundational business that delivers some real value to the coin. But that is exactly what they're doing. In the short term, many people are like, oh my gosh, when is Omi going to boom? And people asking that question, they're missing the bigger picture of crypto investing overall. Number one, they're displaying huge amounts of impatience. I can promise you, with high impatience, you cannot do well in crypto. You will sell you will sell at the bottoms, and you will FOMO into things at the top. So impatience is something you have to cut out of your emotional response system to do well in crypto investing. And that just displays high impatience. And those people just don't do well. I've seen many people become absolute millionaires in crypto over the past like 6 years. Some of my own early audience members are now multimillionaires through crypto investing. You know what they all display? Higher levels of patience. So they're also looking at the fundamentals of projects. So instead of like when token price moon, it's like, okay, what are the fundamentals of this project going on? And clearly the price is cheap for those fundamentals. I hope it stays cheap for a while because I want to accumulate more at these prices. And they're not praying that the price goes up. They're actually praying that the price continues to go down so they can accumulate more. And that's a different way of thinking. And yeah, a lot of new people into the crypto space, they want to be investors. And I get that they don't think like that yet. That is where your mind has to go to really do well at this. And 90% of people don't really do well at crypto investing. I'm sorry to tell you. I know it seems like everyone here is going to make money. It isn't the case. I can promise you when you do the wrong things, you're going to get bad results. And I see it over and over and over again. And I wish it wasn't the case. When I was brand new in crypto in 2017, I thought it wouldn't be the case. Clearly, everyone here would get it. Just isn't the case.
It is. I feel like that extends not just to crypto, but beyond that and just normal investing as well. Especially a lot of males, just a lot of cowboys. Like I see it in poker, where a lot of people will be like, they'll throw chips, they'll splash a pot, they'll do whatever. And I feel like a lot of people do that in just normal investing anyway. And it's like, oh, you like this? All right, I'll throw $1,000 at it, which is fine if you have the money, but do that, 20 or 30 times, and you take somebody else's due diligence as fact in place of your own, and then you realize that they just heard it from some random person, whether it's on YouTube or at a barbecue or wherever, and you wind up spending a lot of unnecessary money.
Yeah. Great to see Mr. MC1 ETH in the chat. He makes a great point. David has publicly stated Omi is his #1 priority for the year 2 times, to the best of my knowledge. And he's right, and West Coast Guy says he never talks about it, though, through the rare videos and the tweets he puts out.
Maybe not in public.
Don't want him talking about it much in public. The SEC can use that to go after them. And some people say, well, yes, but XYZ company with $1 million market cap does it all the time. Well, when you're XYZ company with nothing going on for you, yes, you can take those risks. Why? Because you're just trying to survive. When you're a company that has major partnerships with Disney and everything, you're a juicy target for the SEC. They would love for you to give them excuses to come after them. And you would be very unwise to. So it would be unwise, while there's still this massive lack of clarity from Gary Gensler at the SEC, for him to be talking about the token very much. And I know some people don't get it, so you're just going to have to trust me on this, or don't. I don't care. Doesn't make any difference as to my return on investments. It will make a difference for your return on investments when you don't understand this principle. You don't want the founder of the project you're investing in being stupid. And guess who told them not to talk about the token publicly? XRP. They might know something about that. They spent $200 million defending themselves against the SEC.
So much.
Sure hope Omi doesn't have to go down that path.
No. It's nice when other people have taken. So in random parts of the desert in the Middle East, soldiers are really thankful when they have a tank with them, because when they're going on foot from one place to another, they don't have to worry about, hey, is an IED over here? A tank can just roll over them. And then what they do is they walk behind the tracks of the tank, and they don't have to blow up because, the tank will tank it. VeVe's a soldier right now, and XRP was the tank. It ran over a bunch of IEDs, and now VeVe and David, they're all like, okay, let's walk in the tracks of the tank to know what to do and what not to do. What not to do being the key thing there. That can save them literally 9 figures. Anyway,
literally 9 figures, and that can sink a company, right? So it'd be unwise for them to do things that bring extra regulatory attention while there's currently lack of regulatory clarity in the US. You can't even go to the SEC and say, hey, tell us what the rules are, because they might say, oh, so glad you're here. You know what? Let us look over your company. And by the way, you're breaking 14 rules. And here's the $20 million fine we want you to pay. Thanks for coming to us. That's been happening. So it's like, that is not what a regulator is supposed to be doing. Why they're doing that, you're going to have to ask Gary Gensler and whoever is pulling his strings. I don't know fully why.
The problem, West Coast guy, is that you have companies going to the SEC saying, hey, how do we, let us work together and let us make sure that we're not running afoul of any things that are not concrete, stuff that we have to guess on what we might be doing wrong. And the SEC will be like, no. And then they'll just come out. So unfortunately, there's no official clean way of doing anything, because the SEC can anytime decide that what you're doing is not right. And they'll obviously lose, as they've been losing. They've been getting their butt kicked all over the courts. But it's just a big annoyance that you don't want to have to put your company through, and much less the people that that have supported you through all this.
Yeah, your statement should be correct, West Coast guy. Well, if you're doing everything clean, why should you worry about the SEC? In a normal world, you would not have to. But you would be unwise to not notice that's not the way it's played out for the last 5 years. In fact, many companies just trying to come to them, make sure they're doing the right thing, happens just like what I said. You show up at the door, say, hey, we want to make sure we're playing by the rules and doing everything right. And you walk out of there with $20 million in fine and a potential lawsuit against you. And you're like, that's not how the regulator is supposed to be acting. And yet that is how they're acting. Now, some speculate it's because they're trying to get massive donations funneled to the Democrat Party. It's like, give to us huge and nothing will happen to you. And we see that Sam Bankman-Fried did that. And nothing happened to him from the SEC. And he got umpteen million meetings with Gary Gensler. And maybe that's what they're trying to get every crypto project to do. I don't know. Those actions would make sense. I would hate to think that's true. I really can't say I know. I can say that their behavior doesn't make sense from a regulator that's trying to do things right. I know regulators and other things, they don't act like that. They're just trying to give you clarity. They're trying to be fair to you, and they're trying to get things right. Their behavior has been very weird at the US SEC. In fact, they got censured by a judge and fined millions of dollars for lying to the judge. A regulator is trying to be fair, isn't trying to lie to the judge to destroy companies. So we have to go on what their actions really are, not what we wish they were. And if you haven't been paying attention, their actions are not normal.
Preach. Speaking of people that have been supporters of VeVe, in our top 500, we have had a couple of sellers, don't get me wrong. Michael Campo, Langiro, and Majin Jesus had together sold 277 collectibles between all three of them. And they were the top 3 sellers. I was like, well, Chavez, doesn't that sound like a lot? Some whales selling off by the hundreds? Yeah, it can, but they are writ small by the people that are buying. Expert 44 bought 307 collectibles by himself. Atomic Z06 bought 444. And Dr. Fuse, in that Akomi Secret Rare logo group, is now the number 2 wallet, purchased 1,544 collectibles. I don't even know that is just bananas. I don't know if he's got someone buying for him that just does it while he goes and does his daily thing, because that is a lot. So yeah, they were a bit small by that. And to be in the top 500, you have to have a total of 1,526. Now, just because you're a whale and you might have put tens of thousands of dollars into it, maybe you only have a couple hundred collectibles because you bought really awesome stuff. Rain, I know you happen to have you have a couple Todds, you have a couple Grails, you have a couple of the blue chip stuff. What do you have your eye on? Is there anything new that you want? Or is it like just back the Grails? Those are the best.
Yeah, I'm waiting for more of the new stuff to get like dust all over it so people kind of forget about it, right? We've had some new Grails come out that are freaking amazing. And I just wait for people to like forget about them and then to be selling them for the new shiny objects so that I can pick them up for less than what they were going for, right? So unless you happen to get like the secret rare of the Wolverine drop that just happened, which some people did on the comment, that's amazing. That won't ever get down to like drop price. but like commons will get cheaper, and other, there'll be other things that get cheaper as the shine comes off. So I just wait, right? So what have I picked up in the last few months? More Boba Fett's, more Darth Vader's, more comics that nobody's talking about that have gotten really cheap, grails that launched like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago that people just aren't thinking about, like comic grails. So yeah, I do think these digital comics have a chance to do really well, though it might play out differently because edition sizes are different as far as which of the ones do extremely well. It's somewhat of a guessing game as to which ones in the future, that say there's 20 million users on VeVe or 100 million users on VeVe, which of the comics will everyone be fighting for and wanting in their, I don't know, to be able to display in their VeVeverse. I can't say I know, but I'm trying to make some guesses, some hopefully educated guesses. I feel like they're slightly uneducated guesses because there's people that have much deeper comic knowledge than I do. So I'm just trying to make the best guess on those. And like everything's pretty cheap right now. So even if I don't end up picking the very best ones, I'm sure the ones I am picking will do pretty well.
I know someone that had gotten the Flower Bomb Brandalized Banksy drop and sold it specifically so that they could pick up some cheaper comics. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Smart, because the price on that will come down, but that was another grail, right? That was an awesome grail that released.
And now you have, so you were talking about the secret rare will never come down to retail as at the Hulk 180. When the 181 comes out tomorrow, that's the Hulk 180, I think is like $200 maybe, secret rare. But that Hulk 181 secret rare, that's going to probably be 1,000, 2,000. It's going to be a lot. That is probably one of the most important comics in history, just because you have that first full appearance Wolverine, not that cameo.
One of the most loved characters in all of comic history. Yeah.
Can't wait. You don't. So you have a press pass. You're being like an adult for San Diego Comic-Con. Have you ever cosplayed?
I'm an adult, but yeah. So,
like, are you? So you've never cosplayed, right? You've never like gone on as dressed up as like a character.
I haven't yet, but like in the future, I'm gonna spend on some nice freaking costumes. So like for Halloween and everything, why not make it fun? Why not spend $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 getting a freaking awesome costume? Like one of my friends, Crypto Cosmo, who's here, has this freaking amazing like Master Chief suit that's freaking incredible, right? I don't know what he paid for that. A lot, I'm sure, because it's like about as real as you can get. And that would be fun to have some freaking cool costumes. And I don't know, like showing up at Comic-Con with that, that's cool. I don't know about Comic-Con like in something hot like that, but probably something fun would be cool.
Especially at San Diego. Oh god, it's gonna be so hot there.
Yeah,
New York Comic-Con in October is okay.
What's that?
I was at New York Comic-Con in October is okay because you can wear like warmer stuff because it's pretty cool there. But yeah, San Diego, middle of July. Whew.
Yeah, thank goodness they do have the ocean right close that keeps like the temperature not going too hot. You would think for being in Southern California it'd be hotter than it is, being so far in the south. It's pretty climate friendly, but still going to be hot, especially if you got like a full suit on, like Master Chief. Pay for the $5,000 upgrade so you have air conditioning in it too. Maybe that would work out.
So that's that. And then we have so speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, so you're going with that. There's been a couple of announcents. One has been there's going to be some, I guess, a new Addiction comic that they're going to release there. Zola is going to be there at his own booth. VeVe will obviously have their own booth. What are some other things? What are some things that new people should look for, or people that veterans should look for, people that are OGs, for the upcoming announcements at San Diego?
That's a great question. I don't have any insights on that. Anything that you know about coming up?
Sure.
Because they'll usually make a number of announcements at Comic-Con, right? So.
Yeah, they usually have so they'll have a Addiction comic number 2 or 3. I forget which one it is. So as a result, you'll be able to go get that signed at all of them wherever they are. I'm not sure what booth they're at, but just look up Vincent Cerzolo on Twitter or on X, and you'll be able to find that. Because we have our own booth this year, if you have a gold logo, you should be able to go and redeem your stuff at VeVe. You wouldn't be able to do that before because VeVe shared that booth with Marvel, so they couldn't do anything other than just VeVe Marvel stuff. But now you should be able to go in and do all of that. And then they'll do some giveaways. They're actually doing a giveaway on my channel on Saturday for the Marvel Mighties. They usually have at least one Marvel Mighty at a Comic-Con, but they're already giving us one this weekend. So I don't know if they'll do that at San Diego. They might wait till New York to do that. Speaking of which, have you taken a look? Hi! Sorry.
Come say hi. You got caught, Mrs. Rain. Now you got to come say hi.
How are you?
We lost your audio, Randy. Still lost your audio, or maybe I accidentally muted my audio. I don't know.
His thing's frozen up though too.
There we go. Is that
There
better?
we go.
Just had to reset. It happened. Have you taken a look at the new Marvel Mighties drop on Saturday?
A little bit, right? Especially the one edition that's only got 88 of them.
Yeah.
There's a super rare. Boy, some people are going to get so freaking lucky.
It's mixed reviews on this because now this is going to be the scarcest Marvel Mighty ever. And you have a 0.07% chance. That is 0.7% of a chance to get it. So in order to mathematically how you should be able to get one, you'd have to purchase 136 boxes, and mathematically that would give you 100%. You should get it, and that would be about $2,040. And this way you get a bunch of MCP points. You have a bunch of probably other 2 mints and special mints, but you could probably save a little bit of money if you just buy it for maybe like $1,100-$1,200 over on the secondary market. There are people that are complaining that are saying like this is just a cash grab, and they want to have drops similar to what is it? The drops they said they wanted to be similar to Dapper Labs and Disney Pinnacle, and I figure that okay, I don't know why you would want to, like in poker, why would you split, kings? Why would you split a winning hand? And in here, like you already have VeVe that's super successful. Why would you want to take on the blueprints of companies that are elsewhere that are maybe doing some things that are unsuccessful? Not that Dapper Labs is unsuccessful, Dapper Labs is super successful, but just in that Disney Pinnacle area. What do you think? Should VeVe just be cognizant of the complaints that are out there and not change anything, or should VeVe say like, "Hey, people are complaining, and we should change what we do"? What are your thoughts?
Well, like I was listening to a talk from Steve Jobs years ago, and it's right after he came back and he got Apple on track to actually being really profitable and relevant again. And he got this really antagonistic question from a news person. And he said, look, you can please some of the people some of the time. And it's true. You can please some of the people some of the time. Like, you're not going to please everyone. I think the way they're doing it is just fine. If you listen to all your detractors all the time, like, and some of it's just people that don't think they have a shot at getting it, and they wish the edition sizes were higher. Okay, I would love to get one too. Am I likely going to be able to get one at the drop? No. I'm not going to buy 140 different ones. And so my chances are very, very slim. Your chances are very, very slim. If those that happen to get it, get really, really blessed in their life. So that's cool. They'll pay, what is it, $20 or whatever for the blind box, and they'll get something worth an amazing amount. That's really cool for them. That's amazing for them. I love to see that that's possible. Cool. So I love to see others get gained. So what are my chances of getting that? Not very high. Am I going to pay the amount to get one right away? No. If it later comes down because the shine comes off of it, cool. It's not something I need in my life. Would I like that collectible? Hell yeah. It's freaking awesome. And so some people will just get really lucky and blessed to get that in their life. And because it's so scarce, the value will be really high, and I'll be really happy for them.
There's when they announced the 88, all these announcements or all these scenarios are running through my head. Like, how can I leverage my audience and my position at VeVe? Not that I work with them, just, I don't officially work for VeVe, but I feel like every now and then they'll ask for something and I'll oblige. I was
You're
like,
an unpaid consultant.
Pretty much. But how do I go and guarantee myself this drop? And if there was a magic button that would, I don't know if you ever heard this scenario, like, oh, hit this button, someone in the world dies, we get $10 million. Fun game we played when we were like 12. If there was a magic button that would say, like, hey, you will guarantee yourself a drop and somebody else will not get it, I would not press that, because I feel like VeVe is already a lot of fun. And when you go in and then try to cheat, it's like the annoying teacher that would say, like, you cheat on the test, you're only cheating yourself. And I don't know why that rings true. It's like, it's already fun. You don't want to taint it with anything. But that being said, I feel like I'm one of like the biggest Marvel Mighty collectors, from the sub 100s to having 19 sub 100 Cassie Langs to just having all of them. Gonna be hard, and I know I shouldn't be.
You're totally coveting one of these.
I need it. I need to figure out how to get it without sacrificing what I would put. Like, I have money there, but it's like, I'm gonna spend it. I could just throw it into crypto. I could just throw it into, whatever. And how many times am I gonna do this? Like, VeVe's found a really sweet spot where you give 88 secret rares. And this will likely sell out. This is going to generate them $159,000. Is it going to do it right away? No. Is it going to take them a day or two? Probably. But okay. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if they sell out in 8 hours or they sell out in 8 days. What matters to me is that there's going to be a lot of money going their way. There's going to be a lot of secondary transactions, and that secondary market, it's going to keep Marvel happy. I don't know how much closer they can get. They're like already cross-pollinating like the stuff between Marvel Unlimited and VeVe Comics now. I just wanted to talk about that. Hodlathon, outside of crypto, what makes us fun? Oh, I don't know. The other day, somebody, I think it was Ed Feely, is like, Randy, I don't think any of like your heroes, like Elon Musk or whoever would like you. And I was like, if I met myself, I'd probably find myself annoying too. I don't know what makes me fun. I like to do impressions. What about you? What makes you fun?
Hodlathon, you're assuming that I'm fun outside of crypto, so I don't know that I'd make that assumption. I'm an extremely boring person. I think economics and I think the psychology of people behavior. Now, for some reason, sometimes people like to hang out with me. I don't know why. You would have to ask them.
Kills it at karaoke. I love partying with Rain. I love going out and we belt out a song. Have we done a song together? I don't know.
No. I added a few to my repertoire. There was for a while only one I would do because my singing talent is not there at all. So I had to pick a song that singing talent is not required at all. And I found
I've seen you perform that, yeah. Twice.
Yeah. So like acting and performance talent, I have that. Like, I can perform, I just can't sing. So I found a song that requires performance, not singing talent, and it was a good match.
Yeah. Good times. Hello, SoCal, Omi homie. We love you, brother. So moving on here. So one of the things that they're always there, or they were there when Rooster Teeth was there, is the cast of RWBY. RWBY has just been taken over by Viz Media, and Viz Media has that partnership with VeVe. Ryan, have you ever seen the show RWBY?
No.
It is so. Do you ever watch anything animated?
Pretty much no. I've seen like 2 or 3 animated classics over the last 35 years.
Well, we gotta get you caught up.
That would be like 3 years of videos straight. I'm not sure I'm gonna get there.
That's true. Anyway, this super exciting animated show called RWBY. It's been running for like 9 or 10 volumes. The 10th volume, I guess, is going to be under production soon. They'll be at San Diego Comic-Con. I hope to go in and meet a few of them, and I hope to go in and get some of these collectibles. We had our first manga drop today. It was Ultraman. That made about it. People were a little, I guess they were expecting it to sell out super quick. Like, oh, it only sold like 2,000, and like, okay, VeVe made $30,000. Oh no, what are they gonna do? I thought that was still really cool. Like, things don't need to sell out for it to be a success. Even people that, even if you have new wallets where people aren't spending, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars. You could just buy a couple things. Like in June, you had 667 new wallets. I'll take it. I think that's good. What are your projections? Where do your projections lie on new wallets for the end of the year, and what can VeVe do to make them go up?
Can't say I know. What at some point digital collectibles is going to go crazy. And the secondary sales, like Marvel, is going to be so effing happy with the partnership that they did, and they make a % transaction as those change hands. Marvel's going to be like, holy cow, we hope this would happen, and this far exceed our expectations. Now, when is that going to happen? I don't know, but don't let yourself fall into this trap. As human beings, we're really, really funny. Like, there's two things I love in this world. One is economics. The other one is psychology of human behavior. We are really, really weird in the decisions that we make. And one of the things we have is, what have you done for me lately? And so it's like, we don't look back and look what VeVe and Omi have delivered on. And it's like, your Ultraman thing did not sell out. You only sold 2,000 of them within like a couple hours. That's terrible. And yet, like, no other company is freaking even selling 2,000. And this was a bad performing drop that still sold 2,000 in a matter of a couple hours. Like, it's kind of like there's no context there. For people don't put context there and be like, okay, sure, in a bull market that would have gone much better. We're not there. That's still vastly better than other competitors are doing. And cool, it tells you like where things are at. Like, are we full on bull market? No, it would have sold out. And so it just tells you where things are at, instead of seeing that as like, oh, disappointing. Oh, VeVe fails again, which when people say that kind of stuff, I'm just like, that person is a waste of space and a waste of time. They're probably a really good person, but if they're talking in the investing space, they don't know what they're talking about. They're like a third grader sitting in an algebra class and trying to make an informed opinion. They just don't know what they're talking about. And so like, they're just wasting space. Now, at least they're here and maybe they do learn something, but usually people making those statements aren't trying to learn anything. They're just trying to sound smart without actually doing the work to learn how to think about these things. Cool. They'll get passed up by the investing space if that's what they're here for. We'll chew them up, spit them out. And about 10% of those people will learn. They'll be like, oh man, gosh, I sold at the bottom and I bought at the top. I don't like doing that. And they'll learn to think differently. About 90% will just blame VeVe and crypto, and they'll miss out on the next big wave that will happen. Now, when is that going to happen? Later this year? I don't know. And I don't need to know. Like, I used to worry about that kind of thing a lot more than I do now. Now I went from being pretty patient to being really patient, of like, cool, it could happen later this year. It could be next year. And I don't have to know, as long as I set up my timeline that like allows for it to be later this year, next year, worst case scenario, the year after. Cool.
Preach. On the other side of this, we have, you mentioned no contest. And speaking of no contest, there are contests that VeVe does put on in general. I think one of the most recent ones we actually just had a announcement for. That was from VeVe, and it said, big congrats to this week's sweepstakes winners on their official Discord. It is Null 13, Haggis 4878, and Get Cho Big. I don't know if that's an acronym for something. But I've seen other communities go and do meme contests, and we have like vault contests, but I feel like memes have been left conspicuously absent. Is that a good thing because memes can get too crazy, or is VeVe missing out on a big way that they can go viral?
Well, so memes are a fun, like really, really fun. The community just will build memes like crazy when the token is taking off. So people, as human beings, we love to chase green candles, and we get all excited because it induces a euphoria. And it's super addicting. You wake up every morning checking your crypto prices. Like now we have our vault value right in the VeVe vault. So there will be a point in time where that will be going absolutely crazy. And you'll be checking it sometimes every 10 minutes. And you'll be checking your portfolio. I recommend you don't actually put the numbers in there, but many of you aren't going to listen to me. So you're going to go through this learning curve and you'll check it every day when this blow off top happens, and it will be euphoric. The reason why I recommend you don't put in there is you become addicted to the dopamine of every morning waking up and your vault value is up 5%, 7%, sometimes 15% in one day. And you won't be able to strategically take profits because that euphoria is so strong. Cool. So I don't have my vault values programmed in there anymore. I do look at the prices. I have ones I follow, and I look at the price of the token. And that way I can more strategically not be influenced by the dopamine that comes when the euphoria hits. And it will hit. Like right now, we're on the opposite of that. The amount of dopamine being produced. Now, if you happen to get a secret rare of the comic tomorrow, you're going to have a sweet dopamine hit. That's awesome. Your chance of that are under 1%. But for many people, it will happen, which is super cool. All right, cool. You have to learn to exist for a while to do well in the investing space if that's what you're here for. Now, some people are here for VeVe just for collectibles. That's cool. I'm here because I'm a nerd and I love collectibles that have high potential to do really well, or specifically the collectibles that I want. And so VeVe is an amazing place for me to be, and I love being here. But when you're in this type of environment, it does give me some dopamine hits to buy what was previously much, much more expensive that is cheap, like Darth Vader commons or Darth Vader ultra rares, or Boba Fett commons or Boba Fett ultra rares are super cheap right now, the animated ones. And I like buying those, or some of these comic grails that people have forgotten about that are really, really cheap. And that gives me a little bit of dopamine, but mostly I'm just waiting till the prices go crazy again. And then I'll be getting some dopamine hits by selling at some high prices.
I think that sometimes people really underestimate comics because they go and they say, oh, there's a couple of comic YouTubers and there are a couple of big comic influencers, but there's not really enough to make these prices go up, right? Well, I feel like people have to understand that these comic YouTubers, these are just the ones that are in the limelight. These aren't the whales that are behind the scenes that might watch them, and not the whales that are just that will only buy the top of the top. They're not going to watch content of like, oh, the 10 most affordable undervalued comics that you can still get for, a couple $100. No, they're going to go for the grails. They're going to go for the big ones. And I feel like once that toothpaste comes out of the tube and you have slowly but steadily a bunch of these comic book YouTubers, so like, hey, I'm going to check VeVe out just to see what it is. Or the people that are really aggressive that'll say like, I'm going to go poke holes in everything that I see, and then they find that it's not much there. They're going to expect to find Swiss cheese, and they're like, oh, it's just a giant block of mozzarella, and there's no holes. That's not just with comic people. That'll be with Coca-Cola people. That'll be with, again, one of the things that VeVe should do, I think, is whenever they have a drop, just send an email to everyone, every journalist that had covered whatever IP that they're dropping over the last few months, like, hey, this is what we're doing. And that's just free coverage. Even though I feel like a lot of the people in these journalists are pretty anti-NFT, no such thing as bad.
The journalists rarely have future vision. They don't get it right. So when Elon Musk was trying to explain to them what he was going to do with Tesla when he bought a failing company at that time, like they didn't get it. And journalists aren't business people. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not investment people. Most of them don't have investments. They don't know what they're talking about. In fact, they're so broad in what they usually know, they don't even usually know what they're covering. Am I a little bit pessimistic on journalists? Yeah, I think that's bleeding through. Why? I've seen so much bad journalism. In fact, every once in a while, I'll find a really good article by a journalist. I'm like, yes, there's some hope for journalism out there. Somebody actually knows what they're talking about. So like, do journalists get digital collectibles? No. They don't get it. They're missing the boat. Why? People miss early adoption all the time. I remember all the journalists saying in the 90s the internet was a fad, that this is a really dumb fad used by pornographers and scam artists and whatever, and criminals. The same arguments they've been making for cryptocurrency, same arguments they've been making for NFTs. So journalists, historically, if a journalist is telling you something's a good investment, you should be scared. You should be very scared.
It's not just investing that, you know, a lot of these people get wrong. It's, remember back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where fat was the worst thing for you and you should just eat, you know, get all the fat out of your diet. And now we know that, you know, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, there's a lot of good fats, and there's different levels between cholesterol. There's your LDL and your HDL, and there's as long as you stay away from trans fats, it's fine. But in the 90s, it was reversed. It's like, oh, bread is good, carbs is good, fat's bad. And now it's like, okay, well, fats can be really good, and too much carbs is going to make you all bloaty, especially if you're not burning them off. Moving forward here, we've got
one of the downsides of quote unquote, if you think about it, United States, somewhat Canada. Canada's a little bit more government media than corporate media. U.S. media is a combination of corporate and government media. So it's whatever is politically endorsed by the government, while there's usually some corporate benefit behind it of like, oh yeah, they're pushing some kind of narrative. And so it's like, for a while, eggs were like terrible. Don't eat eggs. Okay, now you can eat eggs, but only eat the white part. Oh, you know what? We found yolks have some benefit to it. And it's like, I would say make up your mind, but I think there was some kind of marketing agenda behind it. Why? Because some business is trying to push something that they have. They then sponsor some segments to be run, and it gets taken like it's fact instead of realizing the inherent bias behind it. Realize most media, like I see this in the crypto YouTube space all the time, the bias behind crypto YouTube on time, like sponsorships make a difference on what some of the big YouTube channels cover and don't cover. A lot of times when you think, oh, I'm getting media, and it's like, often, like if you're not paying for the media, you are what is being sold to. And in many cases, you're being sold to it. Like part of the reason I created my channel was I was frustrated with crypto YouTube, because I was hoping to get kind of like a very informed, unbiased version of like these crypto projects and what was going to do well. Oh boy, I didn't get a lot of that. In fact, what I did realize is most crypto YouTubers don't really understand investing. Most of them haven't even done well. There's crypto YouTubers been in the space for 9 years and do not have significant wealth from their own investments in crypto. The only wealth they have is their revenues from their sponsors and from YouTube itself. And yeah, that was disappointing. It took me about 3 years to really realize that in the space. So it's like media, always be more skeptical than not of.
There's funny you should mention that, because Ben Shapiro posted today that Jim Jordan's House Judiciary Committee found that Real Daily Wire, Real Donald Trump, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, Fox News, and Breitbart News, and more were targeted by a cartel of advertisers controlling 90% of ad dollars to demonetize and reduce their reach. Like it's right out there, literally in the Judiciary Committee, and yeah, it just goes in line exactly with what you were saying.
Yeah, there's so much politics in the U.S. The U.S. is like, we think of the U.S. as a free market, and it's one of the most free markets, but it is not a free market. And it really hasn't been. Like in the late 1800s, like businesses and government were massively in bed. That's what led to the antitrust laws by a really brazen, brash, swearing president back then named Teddy Roosevelt, who was not one of the elites in Washington. He was a man of the people that came in and absolutely reformed it, and was tough enough because, boy, he got hated on by the press. Realized the press is usually in bed with the corrupt politicians. Especially the bigger the press, the more likely they're in bed with them. And so, and that hasn't changed. That's been the case. Do you know in the 1930s, New York Times was daily trying to sell Hitler as the new ideal of how politicians should be?
Oh my God.
They're trying to rewrite that for the last 100 years, but they were. And so was the Washington Post, right? Oh my gosh, we should all do what Hitler's doing in Germany. And then later when it came out, everything was happening. They actually just denied it for like another 4 years until there was so much video evidence and picture evidence they couldn't deny it. And then they just blamed it on other people. And so like the press lies to you all the time. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish we could just turn on the news and get the actual news. Realize you're being sold a story. Now, sometimes the story has some truth to it. Every once in a while, the story might even be completely true, and that is so refreshing. I wish that was always the case.
Moving on here, we have David had mentioned new announcements for physicals. He said it was going to be at D23. I'm not sure if it was going to be at San Diego as well. First time they did physicals with not Farland, Funko Pops. Did really well. Raised like $300,000-$400,000 in like a day. Did exceedingly well. That was between Funko, Marvel, and VeVe. You don't want to go in and try to repeat the same thing. You want to keep things fresh. But what do you think it should be? It's going to be a D23. It's going to be Disney related. But under what facet? It could be under Fox. Could be under Marvel. Could be OG Disney, Pixar. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. Just don't have an opinion on it.
I would love to see. I forget what it was, but there was a super rare like Cinderella's castle. It was supposed to be like super heavy, like one of 100. They already did this. They're not going to do this again, but something like that, something big and grand, like a landmark of Disney. Like if it's not Cinderella's castle, there's a bunch of princesses to choose from where they could have Mulan's empire, or they could have Rapunzel, Tangled, her thing. That's something that I would go in, and if it's super scarce like that, I would spend some money on it. If it's going to be one of 10,000, I'll pass. But
if it ends up being really rare, you're like, I gotta have one. And then you can put it back there by Dashi.
Yeah. Dashi needs a friend though. They need a.
I like Dashi with the VeVe hat. That is a great combination.
I'll give that hat to Dashi because VeVe Magic is finally going to give me my number 41 hat that she's been wearing for the last 6 months. she'll get it over.
You're on my naughty list. Holding hostage Randy's hat.
Yeah, how dare she? Moving on here. So BlackRock had purchased another 3,320 Bitcoin. Spot Bitcoin ETF saw 216 million in net inflows. We've had a little bit of crypto increase. We had a little bit of relief here the last couple of days. Have we seen bottom? Or is this something, what do charts tell you? What does your gut tell you? What do the net inflows of Bitcoin to exchanges tell you?
See, one of the things I'm really passionate about is people learning to become a crypto savage investor. Now, BlackRock is a savage investor. Even in crypto, what are they doing? They're accumulating massively right now in Bitcoin. Why? Because that's the smart play. That's the non-emotional play. So a lot of people are freaking out. Like, now, am I buying Bitcoin? No, the volatility is too low. The stuff that I buy has pulled back way more than Bitcoin. And so the discounts are even heavier. And some people literally haven't trained themselves to be able to pick up in this type of environment. They're too scared. And I get it. You're always bad at something before you're good. And when you're new at crypto investing, even if you've been here 3 years, you're still going through some learning curves. But what I do hope is whether you buy or not right now, you're taking note of where prices are. You're taking note of all the fear that's out there. The fear and greed index finally swung down towards fear. And that's a necessary step before the blast off. Now, what was interesting, we've had some pullbacks over the last 5 months, some different pullbacks, but never did the fear hit really, really high. It was always towards the greed side. And I was like, crap, really, we need this big springboard before we can really take off. And we need fear to be palpable. Well, we're hitting that now. That's great. And what are the savage investors doing? They're scooping up like crazy because they get it. In fact, they might be behind pushing the stories that are scaring everybody right now to death so they can buy more cheap, because that's what savage investors do. Savage investors buy cheap. They don't get scared like, oh my gosh, when is Omi going to go up? They're like, thank heavens, Omi is cheap. Let's see, can we run any stories to make it cheaper? That's how they think.
That would be so you've seen wrestling before, right? WWE, WWF back in the day.
A little bit.
There are heels, which are the bad guys, and there are baby faces. There are faces, people that oh yeah, we love him. One of the most, in my opinion, the iconic face to heels was when Eddie Guerrero was feuded. He was beloved, and then he feuds with Rey Mysterio turns on him, his tag team partner, then tries to get custody of Dominic, like his son, who's wrestling now. It was a wild story. WWE was wild 20 years ago. Anyway, they what would it take for Crypto Reign, face right now, to turn heel? If you could have like a video to be like like BlackRock, that might be the ones to run stories that are anti certain crypto, to make people go like, oh man, should we sell? Should we do this? Just for you to scoop it up on pennies on the dollar. Is that something that would happen, or is like I prefer not to make my money that way?
See, I like just in my life trying to be psychologically consistent, which is mean what you say what you mean. And the reason is because like you got to sleep at night. Life is only so long. One of the traits I value most in people is sincerity. And I find I like to surround myself with people with high sincerity because they're not the ones that stab you in the back. And so for, to play that, I wouldn't be very good at playing that game. I do enjoy educating people on these patterns that I see. Why? Because pattern recognition is something I'm good at. And I see these patterns play out and I'm like, oh yeah, when everyone's freaking out and prices are really low, that is often, not always, often amazing time to scoop up. When prices are going crazy and every crypto YouTube channel, all the big ones are talking about it, that is most often the time to be selling. Not doing what most people do, where they quadruple down, where they mortgage their house and they take out a $300,000 loan to buy at all-time highs of a token. Terrible time. But literally most people can't go huge on something when it's cheap. They're too scared. There's no market confirmation. They're looking around and be like, nobody else is doing this. I'm scared to death. Cool. Part of the reason we create our community is because it creates a network of people that are learning to be crypto savages and helping each other. And it has turned into that, right? Some really good, strong people in there. And no, it's not for everyone. Like literally most people, they just don't have the constitution to be able to do this at a higher level of like, to really learn what it takes in order to make tens of millions of dollars through crypto investing. The opportunity is there to do that over 2 cycles, but only when you become good at this. And some people they can't develop the patience. First of all, they don't already have it. They don't have the timeline to develop the patience it takes to be able to play it out. And you're seeing some of that. If you think about it, our crypto cycle from top to the next top is only 4 years. And so earlier in the comments, someone said, oh my gosh, are we having like a 4-year, what do you call it? He actually used the right word, and the comment was actually really good. Let me scroll up. It was good enough. I want to see it. And he's not even wrong on what he said about a 4-year like consolidation or something. And I liked his comment. And yeah, like literally because Omi shot up so high from where it was, often the pullbacks are massive, and it's been like a 3-year retracement essentially, which can be really, really frustrating. Yeah, 4-year foundation, Hodlathon, great comment. Yes, it's not quite a 4-year foundation. It's about a 3-year foundation. And think of it like a bow pulling back, and then it pulls back farther, and then it pulls back farther, and people are like, oh my gosh, it's pulled back so far, I need to sell now. Okay, you sell. It's buy time for me. Maybe you're not right for this. Like, I don't know. I like cheap prices. I don't know about you. It's never going to make it. What about it selling $2,000 editions on a drop in a bear market that didn't even do that well, and yet sold 2,000 in a matter of hours, and you're saying this company isn't going to survive? Like, you're seeing a different version of this company than I'm seeing, because what I see is a company that continues to get some of the top intellectual property in the world, that sells out many drops during a bear market when most other digital collectible companies can't even survive. Their token has declined massively to really cheap prices. That bull is pulling back like this, and oh hell, it got cheaper. And that's the argument you're making? Like, it got cheaper, and you see that as a bad thing. You and I see the world differently. I'm like, oh, cool. Like Randy and I, some whales that we consult to, it's like, okay, how much money can you move into Omi at these prices? I'm not going to tell you what to do, but these prices are incredible.
Yeah. There'll be, but before the end of August, there'll be a lot of really fun things happening with what we were talking about. With VeVe and Omi, I have no idea, but with a lot of stuff we were talking about, yeah. Good times. I can't wait. Speaking of the Omi token, so Sandbox right now, just because that's something else has another metaverse similar to Decentraland, they have between 30 and 40% of their token on exchanges. Omi, however, has between 4 and 5% on exchanges, roughly about 13 billion. I know you're saying, well, Sandbox has a ton of exchanges. You're right. Omi has like 8, so not a ton. But if we get a lot of interest, I think there could be a little bit of a squeeze. Because if you take a look at the Omi token right now, I'll go over to CoinGecko and refresh so I get the most up to date. $270,000 over the last 24 hours. So when we do get interest on here, and we have millions of dollars a day, not 200, but even with just 10x and 2.7 million, does that mean we 10x right away? No, but does that mean we double or triple? Probably. Going from 270,000 a day to 2.7 million, especially when only 13 billion Omi are on exchanges, it's a really low amount. How do people combat that squeeze? How do people go in and buy a token that is currently being squeezed? Squeeze
Good
it.
luck. Hope you have some money on the exchanges. There's possibility when Omi flies that it really flies. And if you haven't used this time to accumulate cheap, you might pay quadruple, you might pay 10x of what the prices are now. Why? So what's interesting is stories sell. And at a certain point, when a lot of the masses that aren't investing in crypto start waking up to crypto, and it usually happens when Bitcoin really takes off, and that might be in the coming months. Bitcoin hits 100 grand, and then all those friends that didn't want to know anything about crypto that you've been talking to all of a sudden call you and be like, oh my gosh, what should I buy? Bitcoin's so expensive. What else should I buy? And you know what you're probably going to tell them? Omi. So all of a sudden you have massive amounts of new money from new people coming into Omi. And yet it seems like there's endless supplies out there, but there's not. It just seems like that. And many people have 10 million stake that they're not willing to part with. And so you might have a bigger squeeze than you realize. And then what happens is people chase green candles. So the likelihood when all of a sudden it goes 5x, that it then does a total of 10x is quite high because people start panicking. They've been waiting while it was cheap, just expecting it to continue getting cheaper for forever. And then all of a sudden that $10,000 they had to the side, they're FOMOing in to throw it into Omi at 5 or 10x the price that it was at the bottom. And I see this play out over and over again. The other thing about story selling, think about the IP that's behind this. Like a lot of people say, oh my gosh, Omi needs so much more utility before it'll ever pump. That's not true. Now, I used to think that that was true, but I remember when the metaverse narrative hit and I learned some very valuable lessons. I didn't have massive amounts of Sandbox token and Decentraland tokens. I had some. I should have had a whole lot more, but I was so focused on their utility of the token being so minimal, the use case of the tokens so basic and minimal, that I was like, I don't know that these tokens will pump. But all that had to happen was this whole idea of metaverses, and then people just threw money at the token because they just wanted to buy the token. They wanted to be able to invest in Sandbox or Decentraland. They didn't know how to buy the land, so they just threw money like crazy at the token. And the token's 200 to 300x with very low utility for the token itself. And I thought, well, shoot, I was wrong on token utility being summamentally important. It just is a little important. So Omi continues to build use cases, and the use cases do help. The use cases can help your token pump during a bear market, especially as you roll out more and more and more, and people start using those use cases. So that's nice that they continue to work on the use cases, but don't get me wrong. All that has to happen is people wake up to, oh my gosh, there's Marvel comics that you can own, that there's limited editions to them, and I want some of those. And then they're like, what's the token associated with that? And all these people that don't know anything about crypto are then trying to figure out how to buy Omi. You have a massive run on Omi, and it absolutely takes off. And that's probably going to happen. People are like, Rain, do you know that's going to happen? I don't have a time machine. My crystal ball from Walmart still doesn't work. The probabilities, though, are massively in favor of it playing out that way this cycle.
And unfortunately, we don't know when that's going to happen in the cycle. It could happen in the next month. or it could happen in 12 months from now or longer. But I'm of the same. I subscribe to that same theory. So a little bit of good news, some good feels for everyone, some hope core. VeVe has just done their first donation to St. Jude's. That has gone through. That is one of 3 charities that they will do. That is from the secondary sales of the flower bomb of the Brandalized Banksy. So their charity arm is going pretty strong. I wish they would talk about that a little bit more. I talked to David a bit about, oh God, I forget what that's called. Venture philanthropy, where they just have a subsection of the business just generate revenue so they don't have to keep raising money every time. This is likely the first steps that you're seeing of that, which is great. As far as these go, how do you view philanthropy from a company like VeVe? Do you view it as like, hey, do as much as you can so you don't have to pay as much taxes, you could write it off? Or should they be a little bit more select? Like, hey, margins are pretty thin. Margins still pretty wide, but the profit margins that we've seen based on the run rate that they have is a little bit leaner in the bear market than it is in bull markets. So you'd be like, hey, you should hold off on charity stuff for the next year or so. What are your thoughts there?
So normally I don't believe in corporations giving to charity, unless like there's some unique things to what VeVe is doing. I know that sounds terrible, but why doesn't the corporation give that money out to its holders who can then decide what charities they want to give it to? Why is the CEO making decisions instead of giving that to the people who hold a share of the corporation and then decide what charity they want to give to? Well, they're doing it for notoriety of the CEO, for him to look good using your money. However, VeVe is in a unique place. Number one, they're privately held for the most part. Secondly, they can create a collectible and say, we're going to use the proceeds from this collectible to go towards charity, which is a totally different story, because then the collectible garners some attention because cool, like St. Jude's is an amazing charity. It's an incredible one. I strongly believe in St. Jude's. Of all the charities out there, there's a lot of bad ones. St. Jude's is one of the great ones. So it's a fantastic charity. And then they can sell this drop with people knowing either a certain percentage or even all of it goes to St. Jude's, which is fun, right? It makes that collectible for those that are buying it. It's kind of like they're giving to the charity directly and yet benefiting from the ownership of having that, which I think creates a win-win. So I absolutely love that idea.
Hoglathon saying just bought €1,000 worth of Omi. His wife won't be happy. The positivity makes me spend. Well, this is not financial advice. This is just what we're doing. But we're happy to welcome all Omi hodlers.
The prices are at an amazing price. If it gets even cheaper from here, don't despair. The timeline you're waiting for is when everyone's talking about digital collectibles, and it will happen because digital collectibles are better in many ways than physical collectibles. And most of the physical collectible world hasn't woken up to that yet. When they start doing it, Omi prices are going to go crazy. VeVe collectibles are going to go crazy. And you'll find it hard to sell at that point. And that is a really good time to start selling.
Reach. There are a couple of people that have already woken up. Every now and then, Comics and Crypto will come out and say, like, hey, this mint is so special that we're going to publicly put a bounty on it. One of the most recent ones that they've done is Hulk number 181. Comes out tomorrow. Comes out in about 14 hours. And they go and they say they're going to spend or give someone $2,000 if they get the number 1974. That just happens to be what year that came out, and that's just going to be, again, that's one of their bounties. For you, Rain, have you seen any other people offering bounties, whether it's on X or on YouTube or any of the other circles?
I think that's fun. It kind of gamifies it for people just looking for a quick turnaround. I don't know if I got it that I would sell to them. I'd be like, cool. I would tweet them, be like, hey, appreciate the bounty. I'm holding on to this one. And I would just hold on to it. Now, what are my chances of getting that one? Nil. But somebody's going to get, for somebody, $2,000 is a big payday. It make a huge difference. They pay 20 gem for the collectible and they get a $2,000 payday for them. Cool. I'm patient. I'll wait till that thing's worth 10 or 20 or 50,000. I'm not emotionally tied to it that I would be in a position that I'm like, I can never sell this. Oh yeah, I sell it just when the price are a lot higher than that.
there is a so for Golden Auction, 1974 Marvel Comics Incredible Hulk number 181, full first appearance of Wolverine. That had sold on, this is a 9.0 graded by CGC, sold for $10,800. This had sold in February of 2022, and that was so obviously that was a couple of years ago. I think on the CGC, so it's weird. They have it as 1962. That was the start year, but I think that was, I don't know if that was the start of the Hulk, because they have two different dates on there. I guess 1974 was the year it came out, and the start year was 62. I wish they would make that a little bit more clear on the app. I don't know if you've taken a look at that. Either way, Peloton's Big Bird number 41. Big Bird is super cool. Love him. One of the other things we wanted to go over was we have next week Crypto Cosmo joining us, which will be great. I love him. He's in a bunch of different projects.
I love Crypto Cosmo. So I love people in crypto that think like savage investors, and Cosmo has a brilliant mind. He does delve in meme coins. I don't touch them, but he does keep his fingers closely on the pulse of sentiment, which is a skill that if you're going to delve in meme coins, you need to keep your fingers on the pulse of, because it's not fundamentals behind something. It's purely sentiment that you're trading. And I just don't follow that. I don't play in that game. I like more of a business analysis. I'd rather take a trade like Omi, where I just have to be patient while meme coins are running, doing their thing. That's fine. I'll wait because it's a long-term bet. I think Omi from here can do 40 to 200 or more X. And so I'll wait and let that play out. So I didn't play in the meme coins thing. He's also really good at the NFT trades. He's really good in the VeVe trades. Like some things, like he called me up and he's like, you need to get another one of these Sakomi secret rare logos. And I was like, I know, but I'm really busy and everything. He's like, no, jump on it now. They're 400 gems right now. And I was like, oh, I'll get it when I get home. So when I got home, I ended up paying like 1,200 for it or something, right? And I'm like, crap. Oh, well, but he called it like 400 gems. He's like, this is going to go up a bunch. I'm scooping up a bunch of them. And he's really smart on his trades and on the spot. Now, maybe I'm a little bit lazy. Like I was more on the spot like 4 years ago. Why? Because I needed every dollar to super count, because I was like many people right now. This was my first bull market that I was preparing for, and I needed not everything to win, but I definitely was willing to take the time. I was getting up at 2 a.m. in order to be in certain things and get it right time, or 3 a.m., whatever time, right? And hungry as could be. So I guess I'm a little less hungry, and like saving that amount of money doesn't mean as much to me as it did 4 years ago.
So there is a kind of years within 1 year from today, on July 1st, 2025, there's going to be Shrek. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 2026. Shrek 5 is coming out. Is Shrek one of the animated movies that you've seen, one of the 3 animated movies that you've seen the last 30 years, or is that something that has also you've been able to dodge?
No, I love Shrek. I remember when it came out, I was actually working at the university. I was working in their digital, where they made their digital courses, their online courses, and they were using animation, right? And so they paid for us to go watch Shrek. And I actually thought it would be really dumb. I was like, this movie looks so stupid, and it was incredible. And the jokes were unreal and super funny, and love the movie. So it is a legendary movie out there, right? Like of all time, it's like really cool. They did a great job, like with the bad guy, Lord Farquaad, and being so funny, right? With little short man syndrome. And they just did such an incredible job. So really made DreamWorks, really put them on the map. And they made a ton on that movie.
No, we have DreamWorks, and I'm waiting. Like Shrek is. Have you seen that video? Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life.
No.
I don't know if it's on YouTube, but just YouTube or TikTok. Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life. It is the wildest thing. I feel like people forgot about Shrek for a little while. and then that video had resurfaced, and then that video had surfaced, and then people got super into it again. I'm just waiting for that collectible, but it is not here. Other things so I don't know if I have it here. Oh, I have one of them here. I have one of the San Diego Comic-Con things from last year, the DC Hero event. I like some of these things. I haven't opened the app in forever, but I do like that. But it's not going so hot. Right now you have a buy one, get one free on hero cards. Normally they're about $14 for each box, but now they're $7 per box. Cryptoys had done that like earlier this year. People got really salty about that. You've never seen VeVe do that, though. You've never seen them go out and say, hey, buy one collectible and you'll get a coupon for another one 50% off. Now, every now and then they go to hand people, hey, here's a free collectible. Put this into the redemption code and you can redeem that. Now, why do you think that is? Do you think that's because VeVe is saying, well, one, they don't need to do that, or two, saying if we do that, we're telling people we made a mistake pricing this. And other people that are doing this, they're saying that their product is not as good as ours. Or is there something else I'm missing?
Yeah. They made a mistake pricing it or production wise, right? So if you think about HRO, they have to produce the physical packs. So they overestimated what the demand was going to be. And so they're like, crap, we're not going to sell these out. And rather than them sitting in a warehouse, like, let's unload them. I'm just guessing at what decision to do that, because it was like, yay, I'm getting twice as much packs. It does give you a sign of like trouble, like, oh, is something going on? Maybe nothing is going wrong over at HRO, but maybe something. Now, HRO is on my crap list anyway, because there's $2,400 order that they shipped to me. For some reason, it got returned. It showed that it got returned. I messaged them twice. All the information about it getting returned, signed back in their warehouse. They have neither sent me my $2,400 back, nor went ahead and reshipped it to me. Either of those two was acceptable. Instead, they just went into a black hole and just ignored me since then. So HRO, I have not purchased another thing from you since then, and I won't until you take care of me from my claim 2.5 years ago. Sorry, you're on my shit list, and you will be till you make it right. And I'm not going to keep writing you. So I will keep making YouTube videos about you. That's the price you pay for bad customer service when $2,400 is on the line.
Good point. Someone clip that and we'll show it to him at San Diego.
Yeah.
We could go through other channels and we could send we could probably make that happen at San Diego.
Well, yeah. And I spoke to a guy who put me in touch with their guy who's supposed to handle. He's like, oh yeah, I talk with the team all the time, and he's part of the VeVe family. I was like, cool, put me in touch. And like, then the guy just ignored me. I was like, I guess they don't. What is $2,400 too much for you guys to take care of? Is that going to put you in bankruptcy? Should I be worried? Like, crap, like I didn't get the product. You guys signed it back in, and then you told me you resold it. So like, what's the deal here?
Damn. There's like I said, we should be able to rectify that, or at least get on the road to rectifying that at San Diego. They'll be there. I know one person that still works there. And I think actually one of the guys at Hero follows me as well. So yeah, we can message. Moving on, we have Steven Duarte saying, after using 1,250,000 points to complete his flower set from a couple days ago, says nothing changed on his rank or level. Just FYI to people who are asking, he now has 1.768 million. Your points, now the flower thing, I guess that's something that you just like, wasn't really interested in. What would make you interested? Would it be like, would it be Power Rangers? Would it be Transformers? Would it be Harry Potter, Pokemon? What would be some things that VeVe could announce and do that you would use your points on?
Now, the flower thing was highly interesting to me at 88, but like I spent like 200,000 points getting a drop I really, really wanted. And the number on the points, I just like, oh, that's just enough that like it takes so many of my points. I was like, like it was almost I almost pulled the trigger on it because it is a super juicy drop. Like I think it's an amazing piece. And there's only 88 of them, and it was an amazing piece. And had it just sat there for a while on the market, I probably would have went ahead and minted it. But it sold out pretty fast. I was like, oh well. Now, had it been something even more juicy that's like, I have to have this, it would have to be the right thing. Even if it's Transformers, it would have to be the right thing, the right rarity. It'd have to be like a Megatron that is so cool I just cannot pass up, or an Optimus Prime, or maybe Rodimus Prime for those that remember that. That's so cool I just can't pass it up. It like would have to transform and other things. So who knows? If it was that kind of MCP points. Otherwise, I'll just passively wait. I'm only accumulating like 2,500 points a day. So it's like, that's 400. Well, what is that? Yeah, almost 400 days worth of accumulation. That many points. Was it 1.2 million or just an even million?
It was 1 million for the secret rare, but he used 1.25 because the other 250,000 went for the ultra rare.
Got it. Yeah. So to million, it was like close. Like, I don't know. I wanted that. It's really cool. Like, remember forever ago, they're like, we have Banksy, and it's like, oh wait, maybe we don't. And now we see that they did, and a really cool piece.
Maybe one. So one of the things, again, I would love Transformers. I think if there was only 88 Optimus Primes, I think people would be super salty because then, you can't get Optimus Prime.
Hopefully it'd be an FA Optimus Prime. Like, that would get my attention, right? And it would have to be super cool if it was like 1 million. Otherwise, it's hard because if you spend them, you no longer have them. You're like, something else cooler comes out that you want, and you're like, oh, great. I guess I need to put $200,000 into the VeVe app so I can start accumulate way more MCP points fast.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. If you had a transforming Optimus Prime with like the music. Oh my God, I would lose my mind.
A first appearance Optimus Prime that transforms, and it's like, yeah, I remember when they came out with the new Transformers movies, and they did such a good job on them. I'm like, oh yes, that Optimus Prime was awesome.
Peter Cullen is so good. Just Autobots, let's roll. Oh, I am in love with
the voice and like the sword that comes out. He's such a badass. I like Optimus Prime.
That would get me to spend it. One of the things that I don't know how they would do this. I don't know how this would go well, but a few days ago it was the 35th anniversary of the first episode of Seinfeld, and that is one of my favorite shows of all time. I would totally get the cast. Like, I just don't know how well that would do. I know a lot of the people, on VeVe are in their 30s and 40s and 50s, but I don't know. It's not like Disney stuff. I feel like there was never any Seinfeld collectibles. I feel like there was merch and whatever, but am I too dreaming? Is that just something like, Randy, that's only something you would buy, and VeVe shouldn't waste their time?
You know what collectible they could do out of that is the big fat wallet.
The George Costanza wallet that y'all were making fun of me for.
Yes, the George Costanza wallet right there. Because like there's the soup Nazis, right? And they could make it's almost got to be memeable. So you have the George Costanza wallet that would kind of be memeable. You have like the soup Nazis that would be memeable.
Yeah, no soup for you. Oh, I would love that. I would totally get those. Moving on. So there's we've gone for hour 20 there. Is there? I feel like I've been monopolizing all these questions here. Anything you want to talk about before we get to our final thoughts?
Yeah, I want to ask you some questions.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That you can disclose, what projects have you been looking at? Obviously, you're hugely invested in Omi's token. What other ones are you like, oh my gosh, I have been buying more of that? Or you're like, oh my gosh, I want to be buying more of that?
The channel is sponsored by Definity, so I have a very healthy position in them. That is one of the things that, the people that we advise that we like, hey, this is stupid undervalued. It's like my second favorite position. And there's a chance if that hits before Omi does, that will be worth more than my Omi bag. It's wild to think. And then you have outside of them, which I just, for the people that don't know, I feel like I talk about them a lot, but for people that don't, just that really disruptive company that's able to take big institutional banks where they can't even mention crypto in their emails. They have to call it digital assets. That's how taboo it is. they're able to go and say like, hey, you can use your existing credit lines, you can use this. We'll be your onboard off ramp for fiat and forex trade. They just do so many things. They're so disruptive, so innovative. It's like market cap's like $7 million. It's stupid low. Another thing is Earth 2's essence. Earth 2 after 3 years, and they had the boogeyman that had also messed with VeVe. They messed with Earth 2 as well. That's why it took them so long. They were supposed to go out on Go Chain years ago, but then they kind of realized, wait a minute, the fox is in the hen house. This is not good. So they pivoted away from Go Chain. They're on ETH, and they were delayed by like years. And as heavy and as hardcore as some of the fudders on VeVe were, they literally had scam tubers. That's what they're called. Everyone with like 250,000 subscribers and above were calling Earth 2 a scam. Me and this guy are Realty a scammer because we were promoting Earth 2 because we love it. And they're saying like, oh, the engine will never happen. The video game will never happen. The token will never happen. It's a giant rug pull. And they had the most successful marketing campaign on Facebook ever. 3 years later, they finally launched their token. They have 150,000 monthly active users over on their game so far. And right now you can just buy tiles of land. Like the game isn't out yet. They average like 400,000 views per YouTube video that they do. It's really, I think it's stupid undervalued. So those are the two that I have a decent. I don't even have a ton of the Essence token, or I haven't bought a ton, but I will be buying more. And the others I just don't have enough of yet for me to want to go and say like, yeah, I really like these, because then people will go and be like, okay, I'll get that before I get the chance, and I'll price myself out.
Yeah, that does happen, right? You start a runaway thing. I remember when I first covered Definity, I love what's going on with Definity. And what's funny is I knew them a long time before I really knew what was going on with their token, because Paul started coming on my channel 2 years ago through some mutual connections, introduced us. And they're like, hey, maybe Paul would join you to do some analysis. And I talked to Paul, and he had 30 years, like technical price analysis training. Like 30 years. Do you realize so many people in crypto covering like technical analysis, they've been doing it for like 3 months or 6 months or 18 months, but not 30 years. And not only 30 years, like there are people with massive funds that call Definity and be like, hey, can I talk to Paul? I want Paul's thoughts on this. Like, he's really, really good. And so he had been joining my channel on Wednesdays for like 2 years. In fact, Manu told me that some much, much bigger channels had offered Definity good money for Paul to join them instead of me. I'm like, you bastards can't steal Paul from me. I was hurt. And thankfully, Manu told them no. That was really gracious of him. But then, I was talking to Manu. I was like, what is your token more about and what's going on with that? And he shared some things that, a lot of it, like, can't discuss publicly. It's not secret information that can't be discussed. It's just also not public information for a public YouTube disclosure. And so it's like, oh my gosh, like it's crazy what they have going on. So I've taken massive positions and scooped up massive amounts of defending myself as well, because I'm very bullish on that one. They're also a strategic partner of the channel, and they do give me tokens to give away on the once a month Friday live streams I give, which is awesome. So, both my strategic partners, One Chain and Definity, give me tokens to give away, which is awesome. So it's a good way to accumulate tokens without costing you anything, but you do have to stay up to date on their Twitters, or you will not be the first person to be able to answer the questions.
Same.
So there's lots of other ones. I released one video on my top 5 undervalued coins, number 5. Number 4 will probably come out tomorrow, and then next week I'll be doing number 3, number 2, and number 1. People say, is Omi in there? Well, you will have to watch it to find out. If you've been watching this, not like this episode every Wednesday, you understand like I'm massively bullish on Omi, and I lay out the reasons why. There's a ton of people who disagree with me on this. Fantastic. I am really looking forward to the next year and a half and seeing how it goes. It's kind of like you have like a flush, and the only thing that'll beat you is a royal flush out there. So your odds of winning are like massive. And it's like, people are like, you could still lose. And it's like, yeah, I could. I'm going to take those odds though.
Preach. Yeah, they, I really like them. I hope that. So yeah, I get more each month. There's going to be at some point where that will switch, and I'll be like, okay, I'll sell a little each month, and then as it gets higher, for all investments, I'll get more aggressive with the selling. I guess we went over on Monday what we'll do with those funds, whether it's real estate and for cash advance for me, and then at some point I'll have to open up that Chavez charity arm and okay, the land in Madagascar, get this land ready.
Part of your plan for those that miss Wednesday, and you can catch, we go much more in depth of it, is to put some of the money that you make into the high risk lending so that you can make some passive, essentially gains on your capital, right? So say you put $5 million in that and you're able to get 20% returns annualized on that. At $5 million, you'd be making $1 million a year passively. So that actually gives you income to live off. That'd be about $80,000 a month income to live off before paying taxes. So $80,000 a month, pretty good living, right? So use your crypto gains to then leverage into some things that give you passive gains, because one of the downsides of crypto gains is it really only goes crazy once every 4 years. So that's your harvest period. If you try to harvest at other points, you absolutely get decimated. Not that sometimes things can't pump 10x, and then sometimes I'll move a bunch of that position into things that are still low, but your true harvest area is really once every 4 years. And it's usually not advisable to harvest at other points in time because you're really selling at pennies on the dollar. But then when you are harvesting, it's important you roll some of that money into stability, right? House paid off, vehicle paid off, passive gains if you can. Why? Because your crypto gains, and even if you set aside hundreds of thousands of dollars to live off over a 4-year period, you can do that route. But what's really nice is to have a certain budget coming in every month from some passive gains, whether you're buying some houses that are paid off, you then rent out or whatever. So that gives you true financial freedom.
Great. So that'll be our any other final thoughts you have before we bounce, and then we'll talk off camera for a bit.
Overall, yeah. So we're in mid-July, and they say sell in May, go away. A lot of investors do go away during the summer. It's really rare that crypto runs during the middle of the summer. It's not rare at all that it pulls back massively. So like people that are freaking out about this realize that this is completely normal. I have loved seeing how high the fear on the fear and greed index has gotten, that it swung way towards fear. That is a necessary springboard towards a real run, because the real run happens when everyone gets really scared that it's not going to happen. It's just the way it plays out. You would think that it wouldn't play out that way. So maybe it just does every time.
A lot of people that are going, and I've seen multiple people that I don't know if I wouldn't say they're reputable, but they have a following, they have a little bit of a voice. Have they earned that? And should they everything taken as gospel? No. But people are saying like Bitcoin's going 40,000 now, and it's like, well, that's low, and I'd totally pick some up there if it did, but and if that does, cool. But I feel like as people say like, oh, this is definitely going to happen, it usually doesn't. It usually hits far above or below that, depending on which way we're going, and then it does that bounce off that. So it'll be curious next couple
we
months.
might be at a bottom. Maybe it goes cheaper from here. I really doubt. Like BlackRock is scooping up massive amounts. The ETFs are scooping up massive amounts. I don't see how it gets way cheaper than here. And maybe there's some big event that scares people short term, and it does swing down ever so quickly before it then bounces up, because the pressure is on the buying side, the massive amount of pressure on the buying side, and it's going to push it up in the long term. Whether that gets pushed down short term really quickly, I have no idea. My magic crystal ball doesn't say. So,
Great. Same here. All right. Thank you all for joining.
Do stay tuned. Dr. Stuff will be back with us with special guest Crypto Cosmo leading up to San Diego Comic-Con. That's going to be a lot of fun. We missed him, though he was able to join us in the chat. And last time Crypto Cosmo joined us, I was not able to make that one. So I was like so sad. So I'm glad I'll be able to be here.
We'll be at the first night of Comic-Con next week, where I'll share a drink. I'll share a daddy soda with people. I can't wait to see you guys. I love you guys so much. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. But no, next week isn't Comic-Con. It's 2 weeks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be previewing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and hopefully we have some other stuff to talk about. Anyway, everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. I love you guys. Thank you all for coming in. Now, subscribe. And V.